Hey guys, we are going to go ahead and start with our first flip lesson in chapter 1, and it's going to cover section 1, section 2, and section 6, since they're the very basics of what we'll be doing. So the first section, science, it's a study of the natural world around us, and in this class we'll be doing primarily chemistry and physics. Some of the skills that you need to have when you're in the science classroom, you actually use them in the everyday world as well, is observing, which means that we are using our senses to gather information, inferring, which we're able to come to somewhat of a conclusion based on reasoning from what you already know, and predicting, meaning that we can go ahead and forecast what we think is going to happen based on our past experience or the evidence that we've collected. So physical science is the study of matter and energy and the changes that happen to them. And chemistry is the study of the properties of matter and how matter changes. Physics is the study of matter, energy, and motion and forces. And it's really about the motion and forces with physics and how they relate to each other. Section 2, we're talking about scientific inquiry. And this is your scientific method. And it's the process by which we pose questions and then come up with an educated guess of sorts and design an experiment, collect and interpret the data, draw the conclusions, and then communicate the ideas and the results. So this is the definition of each one of these things. The scientific inquiry refers to different ways scientists study the natural world. A hypothesis is a possible answer to a question. So we always start with a question first, and the hypothesis is what we think might happen, usually in the form of an if-then statement. Parameter, it's a factor that can be measured in an experiment. So anything that can be measured in an experiment. And the manipulated variable is the parameter that is changed on purpose. So the one thing that I'm trying to change, I only want to change one thing at a time. That should be the one thing I'm testing. And it's also known as the independent variable. I always remember the independent means it starts with the letter I, that means I'm changing it. The variable that is going to change because of what I changed is the manipulated or responding variable. It's the manipulated variable, it's not the manipulated variable, it's the responding variable, and it's also known as the dependent variable, so it depends on the manipulated variable. Data are facts, figures, and other evidence gathered through observations, and communicating is sharing the work or ideas through either writing it out or speaking with others. So scientists use models, theories, and laws in science, and they use like a model, like a globe, in order to show people what the Earth looks like from space. And it helps them develop theories and laws to increase people's understanding of the world. So a model, like I mentioned, is like a globe that represents an object. Scientific theory is well-tested explanation for a wide range of observations or experimental results, like the theory of evolution. Scientific law is a statement that describes what scientists expect to happen every single time under a particular set of conditions. And that would be like Newton's laws of gravity and motion, okay? There's really no path. As you start with a question, you can end up going to a hypothesis, and then you can pose another question. It's all interrelated, and you can go back and forth to the same thing multiple times. Section 6 is about lab safety. Most of this you guys are very familiar with because you've been doing it for a while. Lab safety, if the biggest one, the most important one, is if an accident occurs, what should you do? You've got to notify your teacher immediately and listen to the directions. Please don't try to hide it if you end up having some kind of accident, because someone could get hurt, and we need to make sure we pay attention to that. These are some of the icons you might see that help us with the types of lab safety that we need to observe when we're doing an activity in class, and they're usually in the textbook. Again, if it's in case of emergency, the first thing you do is notify your teacher immediately, and then she will probably give you directions like these over here about what you should do if there's a burn or a cut or a spill or something in your eye. That's it. Now you can go ahead and go to this URL, type that in. You can't click on it from here, and it's going to give you some questions that I'd like you to answer. If you need to go back and use this flip lesson to answer those questions, you're more than welcome to, or you can use the notes that you've been taking. Thanks.